as you see here, I've pulled up something that Dokkan Assets has retweeted, or I retweeted, but basically he says, I've heard through the grapevine Gohan is going to lead this category. This is the Dragon Ball Super category for hero characters. In Dokkan terms, super class. So the extreme class version may end up being super bosses. So, and we have some tags here that are actually in the JP data. That's where they got these from, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. It's interesting to see this because it's literally on the official, category labels. It's just not in game yet. I don't know if it's actually going to be a thing, but let's go ahead and take a look at some categories and some characters and some units that could possibly be under a new category called superheroes. Essentially, it would be the same as GT heroes right here. So any protagonist that is in Dragon Ball Super would be on that category. Now, what's interesting about that is all the characters from Super are mostly, a good portion of them, the majority of them are actually from Z as well. So we're going to get a huge pool of characters if that is an actual category that's going to be introduced with Beast Gohan and / or Orange Piccolo. It could be, that category could get very nasty. And then you have GT bosses, which is a very limited category, but any villain, any main villain, I should say, not any side villains or side characters that they had to fight. What would be some Dragon Ball Super bosses that we, that would be actually be considered bosses? Let's actually take a look at that real quick. I mean, you have Final Form for you have Golden Frieza right here. He would be one. You also have, Final Form Frieza. This Frieza right here. What other super bosses would we be able to consider on this category if there is a super bosses category? Which, if they're going to make a superheroes category, inevitably they're most likely going to make a super bosses category. I mean, you've got Hit. He could be considered a superhero bosses, or not superhero bosses, but super boss, Dragon Ball Super boss. Jiren could definitely be considered a Dragon Ball Super boss. Even Beerus actually could be considered a Dragon Ball Super boss. Topo could be considered a Dragon Ball Super boss. I know they're super class units, so it does get kind of tricky when you start thinking about it, because here's the thing. Technically, they're just there protecting their universe, so that a lot of them are not under extreme class, so they would have to put units like this who are super class under the super bosses, Dragon Ball Super bosses. Even Ribrianne could be considered a Dragon Ball Super boss. Frost. If you take a look at GT bosses, it's very limited. There's not very much or very many units you can actually use that are decent or even good. I'm thinking super bosses could possibly be very limited as well. There's just not, the extreme side of this game is just not nearly as loved as the super side, and that's understandable because the super side has Super Saiyan Goku, Vegeta, all the main characters that everybody just absolutely loves. I know there's people that love villains in the series. My personal favorite is Cell, but there's other people who love Frieza, who love Turles, those characters who don't get as much recognition. But for the most part, I would say the community as a whole does prefer the super side of things when it comes to, Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan Vegeta, Super Saiyan Gohan, all those main characters that are staples in the series. The super bosses side of things could get a little tricky and could possibly not start off very well, because it is going to be a little bit limited. But with the anime coming back inevitably eventually, don't know when that's going to happen, but and then with the material in the manga that they could possibly bring into the newly returned series of Dragon Ball, the extreme side of things could potentially look very, very good with Moro, Granola, all those people from the manga. I don't personally read the manga, but I've heard of them. Black Frieza. Later on down the line, super bosses could look very good, but superheroes, man, right out of the gate, if Gohan or Piccolo or both lead that category, if that's a new category they're going to introduce, it's going to look insane. Because here's the thing, I would say Hit could probably stay on super bosses. Characters like Jiren and Topo, who are actually super class, could be on super bosses as well as superheroes. Once again, they're fighting for their own universe. They're not actually like wanting to fight. They're just fighting because they're trying to survive. And a good example of this is characters like Tapion. Characters like Tapion and characters like Beerus. Because both Tapion and Beerus, if you take a look here, we'll look at this Beerus as well. I mean, Beerus is a super class unit, but he's on movie bosses. And then Tapion, he's actually on movie heroes and movie bosses, because they have to fight Tapion. They have to fight the, giant form, whatever it's called, Harudigan or something like that. I can't ever pronounce the name, but yeah, he's on movie bosses and movie heroes. It could very well turn out to be something like that if they're going to introduce superheroes and super bosses. They could definitely utilize, the Jirens, the Topos, even the Kales and Cauliflas, the Keflas. I mean, Kefla's technically a super boss because, Goku fights her, but she would also be considered a superhero because, once again, they're just fighting for the universe, or for the survival of their universe. The potential is there for superheroes. I think super bosses is going to be a little bit lackluster if they introduce it right away. The potential is there. It's just, it depends on what they do with this category and how they handle it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about all this. Would you like to see a new category, a superheroes category, introduced into the game? What do you guys think about how it would fit in the current meta of things, in the current state of the game? Do you think it would be a good category to be introduced at this point in time with Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo? Love to hear from you guys. But yeah, that's about it. I appreciate y'all for being here, and we are on the road to 2K. So consider subscribing, liking the video to support the content, and regardless of any of that, I do truly appreciate y'all for being here and being a part of this journey with me. I'll catch y'all in the next one.